Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bent Pixels Weekly Upload. I'm Sam.
And I'm Kevin.
We're going to hit you over the head with a bunch of exciting digital news. It's a big show today. And we also have our lovely producer, Lisa.
That was right here. I was so excited about my shout out that I tilted the camera just a bit. Bear with us.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen, live. Lisa, is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm all right back here.
All right,
living on the edge.
Yeah, exactly.
Look,
I don't like things to be perfect. If the world was perfect, we wouldn't have a show, right?
It's live, folks.
It's live. I gotta admit, in a personal note as well, because we get all the personal stuff up front. I am wearing a wrestling T-shirt, Mankind McFoley. It is WrestleMania weekend this coming weekend. I don't know if we have any wrestling fans in our community. So big shout out to our international wrestling fans, of which I'm sure there are a ton. One is sitting right here. So Kevin, enough of the preamble, because we got a lot of stories to get through. So what do you want to hit us with at the top of the run sheet?
Well, the first one that we have coming up is Facebook fundraisers now help raise money for your friends.
Oh, is there another story that we want to do for today? This is great. This is perfect. After the recode.
Oh, after the recode.
Because that's the. I pushed it to next week.
To get the order right.
Exactly. But you know what? We're good like that. We just move forward.
Good like that. So we're gonna mess up the YouTube caption one.
Yes. So we're gonna start with the advertising.
Okay. All right. So that one.
Yes.
All right. So YouTube caption.
No. We'll start with the advertising.
All right. Got it. YouTube creators.
Wait, let's do a clean cut.
Clean cut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kevin, what's the first story that we're starting with today?
The first story that we're starting with today is that after big US and UK brands, they pull advertising, Google needs to reconsider programmatic advertising.
Okay. Yeah. So this is about like the way that ads are served on YouTube videos. Yeah. So there has been a lot of different stories coming out. We know about the top level YouTube creators making mistakes, not like ours, totally different, and that advertisers get wary, and this happens every now and again. Of like, are we going to see a Johnson & Johnson ad shoved up against an insensitive joke, so-called, on some YouTube channel? What is your general opinion about that, Kevin? Because I know that, our company is interested in working with brands. We're interested in working with creators. Yeah. We're very much, trying to always make sure that both sides get what they want. So I realize that, we're not shouting or calling anybody out in particular. But what's your general feeling about the way that, a consumer thinks about ads and what they see against the content? What do you think about that?
You know what? I would think it's really dependent on who sort of watches it, because my twin brother, he's a avid YouTube watcher, and he couldn't care less about the ads that come before. But I know my mom, she's very the opposite of that. Any sort of ad that kind of comes up, she sort of sees it out as law or something like that video before it is, somehow tied to it. So it's really hard. It's really interesting to sort of figure out how it's going to play out, and just sort of how YouTube sort of tries to figure out the mandate or what they're going to do about this, because people take things very differently.
Do you think that's a generational gap? Because, like you said, it's the difference between your brother, who's close to you in age, and your mom, who grew up in a different time. In terms
I would think it might be a generational gap. Yeah, just because YouTube's it's still new media compared to TV and things like that.
Sure.
So it is still a transitional period. So I would think so.
So when you say that your brother doesn't care about the ads, that sort of speaks to the idea that a younger audience can make that differentiation. And I've heard this from other sources, other places. Lisa, I don't know if you can corroborate, but the general idea that younger audiences have an understanding that ads are ads, and unless it's in the actual video as a sponsorship, there's not really a value placement being made there. What's your take?
Yeah, I think that probably for a millennial and sort of back half millennial audience, people understand that ads are served against YouTube content. It's not necessarily an endorsement, it's just how the system works. And I don't think that younger people necessarily take that as seriously or as big of a problem.
Right.
But, you know, I mean, that probably also, I mean, it depends on the content, right? It depends, you know, I think we're talking about probably a wide range of content here in this conversation.
Well, we're also talking about videos, and I mean, this is something we go back to every week, I feel like, is there's a difference between somebody doing something for the sake of a joke or trying to be, like, edgy, and then there's stuff where they talk about, like, actual, like, social issues, you know, like things in racial justice and, you know, political issues and things like that, where they have to talk about rough subjects, you know, and or personal stories about abuse or something like that, where they're going to use coarse language, and the stories that they're going to talk about are very personal, and their fans like to engage with them and, like, support one another. But then all of a sudden it's like, no, we don't want to serve any ads against it because you mentioned one word about, you know, being sexually aggressive or something like that, even though the context was such that they were talking about something different. So it'll be interesting to see. I think this is a temporary flap up. Google, for their part, in the story from recode.net, they say that they are going to promise greater transparency. It will be more aggressive in ensuring brand safety for ad placements. There will be tweaks to the ad system rather than any revenue loss that might have come after advertisers might have pulled their business. And so some YouTube creators right now, I think, are seeing a bump down in terms of their ad revenue, but I'm sure that this is going to rebound as people get more understanding and become more savvy as to how to do this properly. And I hope Google, for their part, will understand the difference between something that is actually offensive and stuff that is addressing serious issues that, you know, so that's my whole thing. It's like, protect the creators here, you know, like there's serious things that should be talked about.
I think this is one of those things where, for me personally, I can see where each side is coming from.
Sure.
Right? I can understand where the advertisers are coming from. I can understand where YouTube's coming from. I can understand where the creator's coming from in sorting out this pretty complex issue, right? And I mean, fundamentally, it has to be solved because YouTube is actually such a valuable place for advertisers and sponsors to be, right? If you compare it to television numbers, if you compare it to where digital's going, it really needs to be solved because it's such a powerful platform.
Especially for YouTubers that they might not do a lot of, like, super, like, integrated, like, sponsorships and stuff. They sort of depend a little bit more on that passive advertising income. So anytime that they're getting flagged or something for, like, not getting served up certain types of ads and seeing their revenue drop, that really affects them because their whole thing might be, I don't want to sell out for things that I don't want to sell out for, which is fine, but then they also need some type of revenue coming in. So we'll see how it plays out. Great story. Kevin, what do you got for us next?
The next one we have is YouTube captions get more accessible from We the Unicorns.
Okay, so what's this about?
So this one is about YouTube. Automatic captioning now can recognize things like laughter, applause, and music in your videos.
Okay.
Another thing about it is that according to Google Research, their blog, this addition, quote, will spur further work and discussion in the community around improving captions using only automatic techniques.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we know that the fans can provide annotation. Well, not annotation. Sorry, those are out the window now. I must just be missing them so much, you know. Captions can be provided by the community. They can, like, do fan submissions there. But I like this idea of trying to do more automatic stuff. Also, regular captions, if people aren't familiar, television children was something that you used to watch connected to a cable or antenna. But the captions there would include details like applause or soft music plays in background. Right now, it's just verbal because it's just like verbal recognition. And specifically, I mean, obviously from my personal experience for English, I don't know if they also do it for other languages or not, if they do auto-detect. But anyway, so this is just a way of achieving parity, right, between the captions.
Yeah. And I always, for one, like captions a lot. Just because a lot of the times when I'm at home, I'm not always able to use sound or use certain things like that since other people are sort of cooking or doing stuff like that. So captions always helped, especially with sort of content that had it, like that show CinemaSins. They use captions a lot in theirs.
Yeah.
But even now, this won't work now since it's automated and the community always can add captions and things like that too.
Yeah. Well, that's funny you mentioned CinemaSins because they always had that baked into their content. Because the sort of rapid fire delivery, you almost need captions to, like, kind of catch up, like, like they're going like the Micro Machines announcer, you know. I'm actually excited about this. This also brings up kind of a larger issue that I want to use this as a kickoff for, which was a couple different videos that I saw this week, because they're talking about accessibility, right? So people who are deaf, people that actually need captions in order to enjoy like YouTube videos. Zach Anner, who is a really prominent like YouTuber, he's been working with the Cerebral Palsy Foundation. If you don't know him, you can look him up, but he himself has cerebral palsy, and he's a comedian, a speaker. You might have seen his like workout videos where he works out with his friends, or the video this week that I'm mentioning, which is he wanted to highlight accessibility issues for people in wheelchairs, essentially, and went and did a video where he had to go from his hotel like across one of the river to another borough. I think it was like Manhattan to Brooklyn or something. New York followers, please do not crucify me if I don't know the exact direction. But it was the quest for the rainbow bagel. And so he had to like overcome all these things like, oh, stairs again, okay. Or like, we have all these elevators, but it's always packed when it gets to my floor. So the only other elevator accessible is down 2 stairs, which would make it almost impossible for somebody with a mechanical wheelchair to navigate. So I just like the idea that digital media is about being a little bit more inclusive to like people's experiences. It's also like Trans Visibility Day today, so people are posting like a lot of videos and links, educating people on like trans issues and stuff like that, which I think is pretty cool. Lisa, you had somebody that you saw recently that's getting their own talk show?
Yeah, so there's some news out that Fleischmann, who's an autistic video creator, who actually doesn't have the ability to speak on her own, but can do so with help of a computer.
Yeah.
And you may have seen her interview a few months back with Channing Tatum.
Which went
viral and was very popular, because she was very obvious about her crush on him, and she made him kind of uncomfortable. It's very funny.
It's a very funny video,
anyway,
yeah.
She's doing a partnership with the Fine Brothers, and they're going to collaborate with her on a talk show, so that's exciting for her.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing more of those episodes.
Are there any other things, Kevin, that you see like in this space that like being inclusive and?
I just see a lot more solidarity and a lot more not. I can't really pick a particular example, but I am seeing overall it's a lot of solidarity and a lot of collaboration that's building. That's really happening. That's moving the medium and moving YouTube towards like more of a positive ecosphere, because throughout all the stuff happening, the fact that people are sort of collaborating and helping each other out and really trying to hear what everyone else has to say is helping. It is moving everything forward, and progress is being made, which is awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, the last story that we want to cover today is actually one provided by our own blog. Usually, Kevin is very helpful in putting up all of our social posts, all of our blog stuff. But this one comes from one of our community heads, Eric, who wrote a story about building a channel from scratch, how I got 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, and what I learned from that. So if you go to bentpixels.com/blog, you can see all of our previous blog posts, as well as this most recent one from Eric Hammers. And he touches on a few different points that I think are really, really important, which is mainly that, and it hammers home stuff that you've heard before, right? That a YouTuber has to be both a small business owner, as well as a creator, as well as an analyst, as well as a creative type. It's a very, very multi-tiered job. So what happens is that the main reason why people grow is community, right? Kevin, you read the article. What was your kind of takeaway about it?
My takeaway is that a lot of those points, while I heard before, they're tried and true. That's the reason why, Eric beats it in our head to sort of, keep doing those things. Reach out to your community, keep doing what you need to do, and you have to wear a ton of hats, because to be a successful YouTube creator, that's what separates you from the people who aren't successful YouTube creators, is wearing a ton of hats and doing things depending on where you're at in that stage.
Yeah. He mentions that collaboration is key, and that can actually come in a lot of different forms, because, and I've seen this actually on another YouTube channel, Team 4-Star, where they do like parody like videos about anime, Dragon Ball Z specifically, but they got in like a guest editor, and so at the end of the video, the editor got a chance to like kind of jump on like, hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm the editor, If you would like to see something similar, I actually have my own channel you can check out. And I thought that was kind of interesting because usually we think of collaboration as like, I got to show up in your video. I got to show up in your video. I have to do something. Eric mentioned something where, another YouTuber reached out to him and then he asked to do like a collab video. So he was actually just working with him so that the guy or gal, it doesn't specify, could produce their content. So just remember that there's always a lot of different options for this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You're multi-talented yourself. Like you do the thumbnails as well as music producing and stuff like that. Like, have you found that kind of gets more inroads with people, or what would you? You're a creator yourself, Kevin. Like, what would you recommend personally to like try and get people if they are starting from zero? Like, how do they kind of like kick off these communications? With
kick off communications. Just always be positive and cordial to who you're trying to collaborate, or if you're trying to initiate your collaboration with. Try not to be malicious or anything. You also want to be a fan. You don't want to just come out of nowhere and just sort of just be like, hey, I want to collab for the sake of collabing.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be genuine because with YouTube, just like with now with more social media, being genuine goes a long way because it's very transparent. You're very honest about your intentions of what you got, of what you want, and things like that.
Well, it's sort of like anything in sales, right? Where it's like you have to prime people in order to get them excited to work with you.
Yeah.
So being there first and foremost, like as a fan of their work or what have you, is probably easier than just coming out of the blue. Like, we see with some of our clients that are bigger guys, bigger creators, and we'll see messages come in where it's like, I love your videos, man. I want to be just like you, so let's do a video together. And it's like, I love that enthusiasm, and I like seeing that, and that this channel elicits that kind of passion. But they're just like coming out of nowhere with it, and then all of a sudden it's like, I got this bullet-pointed list, here are my demands almost of like what I want this to be. And it never quite works out that way because you never know what to make of somebody at first. Right?
Yeah.
There's almost like there's a trust value there. So if you come to them simply and like as a fan, like, let me just help out with this little thing over here. It's like that's been always my thing is like show that you can do one thing easily, and then the next thing that they do, will give you so much more like trust and support. It's like, well, they already did that. Like they can do this. And the third time you go to them, it's like then you're doing even more together. So like maybe don't even start from like let's just make a whole video. It's like, Kevin, you're a musician, so it's like, hey man, I made some music. If you want to use it in your video, there you go. And it's almost like that's kind of like a calling card. It's like, hey, use this free music, just tag me in your video, and then like, hey man, I love that music, and then it's like maybe we can do like a custom thing. You can make me like custom music for this skit, and then all of a sudden it's like I'll tell all my other friends like, hey, I know this musician who's really good at making music, and then that's usually how it goes. Like same thing in like we're in Los Angeles, the production industry. Favors go a long way. So if you're really good at something, you have a skill, or you have something to contribute, oftentimes that gets you connections.
Yeah.
So I agree with that strategy. Man, I just feel like this has been so collaborative, so inclusive, so welcoming. So don't you feel welcomed? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think about collaborations, getting your channel started from zero. The captions, are you using captions? Use captions in your videos, whether for accessibility or for getting that extra VSEO push. And just let us know how you're doing with all that. Make sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and Kevin, where can they find you online?
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram, KTFRight or KTFright.
Can you spell that out actually?
Yeah, it's KTFRIGHT.
That's fine. And you can find me at CraveSam, all one word. And Lisa?
I'm going to pass.
Okay.
I lurk.
So we're just building the anticipation, our ongoing meta storyline of when is Lisa going to show up on camera.
That's right.
It continues. The intrigue grows. Well, thanks again, guys, for joining us this week. Lisa, any comments live? Nothing?
Keep being inclusive, people, and have a good weekend.
Yeah. Oh, really quick shout out to Joe LaCastro, who mentioned that he has a face rig. You know that animated vlogger thing we were talking about last week? So he actually has a face rig that he's doing experiments with. Joe, if you see this, please share with us some videos of your animated avatar. We want to see that in action. All right, that's enough for us. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us on the Ben Pixels Weekly Upload.